Many INFPs walk through life feeling different, misunderstood, or even invisible, unaware that what they consider flaws are often their greatest superpowers. The INFP's strength doesn't roar, it resonates. It doesn't demand attention, it transforms it. And often, even INFPs don't realize the depth of their own influence until the world around them begins to shift because of something they quietly set in motion. One of the most profound superpowers INFPs possess is their emotional depth. It's not just that they feel emotions more intensely, it's that they can understand them in ways that most people can't. Their emotions have layers, colors, and textures that allow them to see beyond surface appearances. When others are frustrated or dismissive, INFPs can perceive the pain, fear, or longing that hides underneath. This emotional X-ray vision makes them natural healers of the human heart. They can sense what's unspoken, what's buried deep in someone's soul, and gently bring it to light. They don't always realize how extraordinary this is, because for them, it's simply how they experience the world. But for others, being truly seen by an INFP feels like a sacred experience. Another hidden power is their imaginative empathy, their ability to step into another person's world completely. INFPs don't just sympathize, they become. They can almost inhabit another's perspective, feeling their struggles, joys, and fears as if they were their own. This is what makes them incredible storytellers, artists, counselors, and friends. Their imagination doesn't just create fantasy worlds, it builds bridges between souls. They have an inner cinema that constantly plays scenarios of what if, not for escape, but to understand life and all its infinite possibilities. They don't always realize that this is rare, that their ability to translate emotion into art, or pain into beauty, is nothing short of magic. Then there's their moral intuition, a quiet yet unwavering compass that seems to guide them toward what is right, even when the world disagrees. INFPs often struggle in environments where integrity is compromised because their sense of authenticity is sacred to them. They have an inner voice that doesn't shout but speaks with such conviction that, if they learn to trust it, it can lead them to incredible purpose. Even when they feel lost or uncertain, this intuition keeps pulling them toward meaning, honesty, and truth. It's what makes them natural reformers and idealists. People who can see how the world could be, not just how it is. An INFP's sensitivity is often misunderstood as weakness, but it's one of their greatest sources of strength. Their emotional sensitivity allows them to pick up on subtleties most people miss. The tremor in someone's voice, the energy in a room, the silent shift in a friend's mood. They're often the first to sense when something is wrong, and though this can be overwhelming, it gives them the power to respond with compassion before others even know it's needed. In a world that often values toughness over tenderness, INFPs are proof that empathy is a form of strength, not fragility. Another quiet superpower lies in their capacity for transformation. INFPs are alchemists of the soul. When life breaks them, they don't stay broken. They turn their pain into poetry, their loss into lessons, their heartbreak into healing for others. They have an uncanny ability to rise from ashes, not with bitterness, but with even deeper understanding. Their resilience is gentle but unshakable. It's the kind that grows from the inside out. When others lose hope, INFPs can still see light in the cracks. They can rebuild themselves entirely, guided by their inner ideals, and emerge softer but stronger, wounded but wise. Their creative vision is another force they often underestimate. INFPs don't just create art, they create worlds. They can imagine futures, emotions, and experiences that have never existed before. Their creativity isn't limited to painting or writing. It's in the way they solve problems, the way they dream about relationships, or the way they turn ordinary life into something meaningful. They infuse their surroundings with depth and symbolism. A simple conversation with them can feel like a journey into a deeper realm. When they embrace this gift fully, they become storytellers, innovators, and changemakers capable of inspiring millions. Because their creations don't just entertain, they heal. One of their most underestimated strengths is their ability to love unconditionally. INFPs love with their whole being. Their affection doesn't come with conditions or expectations. It flows from their belief in someone's potential, their goodness, their humanity. This kind of love can be life-changing. They often underestimate how powerful their presence can be in another person's life, how their quiet encouragement or unwavering belief can awaken something dormant in others. Their love is not loud, but it's transformative. It softens hearts, restores hope, and reminds people of their own worth. Their visionary nature also gives them a sense of destiny that few people experience. INFPs are dreamers who can glimpse possibilities that others dismiss as impossible. They can imagine better systems, kinder societies, and more just worlds. They often live decades ahead of their time in thought and ideals. This can make them feel alienated, but it's also what makes them pioneers. They're meant to see before others do, to dream when others can't. History's greatest humanitarians, writers, and spiritual leaders often shared this INFP quality, the courage to dream in color while the world lived in gray. There's also their power of connection to meaning. INFPs can find significance in everything: the flight of a bird, a melody, a sunset, a whispered phrase. Their minds naturally connect symbols and metaphors, transforming the mundane into the sacred. They see patterns in chaos and purpose in pain. This ability allows them to draw wisdom from the simplest experiences and turn them into profound truths. To others, it might seem like overthinking, but to an INFP, it's seeing the spiritual architecture behind reality. They don't just live life, they interpret it, translating the invisible into something the world can touch. They also have the capacity to bring light into darkness. INFPs may often feel the world's pain too deeply, but it's precisely because they carry light that darkness notices them. They are emotional lanterns, drawn to broken places not to fix them, but to illuminate them. When they show up authentically, sensitive, imaginative, and compassionate, they shift the emotional temperature of a room. Their calm, soulful energy reminds others that gentleness can coexist with strength, that peace can exist in the middle of chaos. An INFP doesn't need a shout to change lives. They change them simply by existing in alignment with their inner truth. Their silence holds wisdom. Their kindness shifts energy. Their imagination reshapes reality. The world may never fully recognize how much beauty they bring into it, but that's the nature of their gift. It works quietly, like roots beneath the soil, nourishing everything without demanding credit. Another superpower INFPs hold is their ability to mirror the soul of others. When people interact with an INFP, they often end up seeing themselves more clearly. This isn't manipulation, it's resonance. INFPs carry such emotional honesty that when someone stands before them, pretenses start to crumble. The INFP's energy invites authenticity. It makes people open up without realizing why. Someone could have spent years hiding their true feelings, yet after a quiet conversation with an INFP, they find themselves confessing things they've never told anyone. That is spiritual alchemy in human form, the ability to reflect others so purely that it heals them. Another hidden strength is their capacity to dwell in contradictions without losing balance. INFPs can hold two opposing truths in their heart and still find harmony between them. They understand that life isn't black and white. It's layered, paradoxical, and beautifully complex. This makes them incredible mediators and philosophers. When people around them argue in absolutes, INFPs instinctively seek the middle ground where empathy lives. Their mind can stretch wide enough to understand multiple perspectives without judgment. That's why they are so often the safe space for people who feel misunderstood or marginalized. They embody understanding in its purest form. There is also their power to romanticize existence, which the world often mislabels as naivety. What others call daydreaming is, in truth, the INFP's ability to see hidden beauty in everything. A crumbling building, a rainy day, a song played softly in a taxi. All of it becomes sacred through their eyes. They notice the poetry in the ordinary. This perspective doesn't just make them artists. It makes them preservers of wonder in a world that forgets how to feel awe. Their presence reminds humanity that beauty still exists, even in pain, even in imperfection. Their power to awaken dormant emotions in others is another ability they seldom notice. When an INFP tells a story, writes a poem, or simply expresses their truth, they stir the emotional landscape of those who listen. Their words can resurrect long-buried memories, make strangers cry, or inspire people to change their lives. There's something about the sincerity of an INFP's expression that pierces through the emotional armor people wear. Even when they speak softly, their authenticity vibrates at a frequency that reaches the human soul. This is why so many great poets, songwriters, and humanitarians share their temperament. They don't just communicate, they transmit feeling. INFPs also possess a profound ability to love humanity while being disillusioned by it. It's a strange kind of duality. They can be disappointed in people's cruelty, yet never stop believing in their potential for goodness. This love is not blind, it's visionary. INFPs often see what someone could become, not just who they currently are. They see the light within the broken, the purpose within the lost, the gold buried in the mud. Even when betrayed or hurt, they rarely lose their belief that something divine still flickers inside every soul. That faith is not weakness. It's an incredible emotional endurance that keeps compassion alive in a cynical world. Another supernatural trait of the INFP is their connection to destiny through introspection. Most people seek direction outside themselves through rules, leaders, or systems, but INFPs are guided inwardly. When they retreat into solitude, they aren't escaping reality. They're communing with purpose. Their solitude is sacred space where revelations are born. In silence, they hear whispers of what they're meant to do, who they're meant to help, and what truth they must express. It's as if their soul has a private conversation with eternity, translating divine purpose into human intuition. This is why so many INFPs eventually find themselves called to creative, spiritual, or humanitarian work. They were designed to carry messages that don't come from the surface world. Their power to heal through presence is another superpower they rarely recognize. They don't need to speak or offer solutions. Just their calm, understanding energy can bring emotional balance to those in turmoil. They emit peace that others can feel, like a quiet frequency that steadies the soul. It's the same reason why people often seek them out in moments of crisis. They are living sanctuaries. Even when INFPs are hurting, their empathy shines through in subtle, wordless ways. Their energy says, "You are safe here." That vibration alone can change someone's entire day or life. There's also the ability to see time differently. INFPs live with one foot in the present and the other in eternity. They sense how fleeting and fragile moments are, which is why they treasure them so deeply. They can take a passing glance, a single word, or a fleeting encounter and feel the eternal significance of it. This is not sentimentality, it's spiritual awareness. They understand impermanence intuitively, which allows them to appreciate things others take for granted. When they channel this perception into art, they create timeless work that captures what it feels like to be alive. And then there is their soul-level courage, a quiet bravery that isn't about bold gestures but enduring authenticity. INFPs often underestimate how strong they are because their strength is internal. It takes immense courage to stay kind in a cruel world, to remain idealistic after being disappointed, to keep loving after heartbreak, and to continue dreaming when reality feels harsh. Yet INFPs do this every day. Their very existence is an act of rebellion against apathy. Their softness is resistance. Their hope is revolution.